right.
Let's start a podcast.
Yeah, let's start a podcast. We should open up a podcast.
Oh my
We'll call
gosh.
it Puzzle. And everyone would go, why is it called Puzzles? That's why.
Nick, do you want to tag us?
Just start it up. Yeah, you're listening to Four Men and a Little Podcast. You found us somewhere, possibly on YouTube, possibly on wherever fine podcasts are found. Tell your friends, subscribe, hit likes. Tell us how you feel. You know, if you want us to, I don't know,
The
talk
Instagram.
about something.
Yes, we love to hear how you feel.
Yeah.
We will talk feelings with you if you want.
Sure, if you want to talk about feelings.
Yes.
But we're also on Twitter and Instagram at 4Men Podcast. It's the number 4Men Podcast. Sean, you're drinking. What are you drinking?
Yeah.
I don't even know. Kona Brewing Company, so I'm guessing it's Hawaiian.
Kona Brewing, if you're out there and you want to give us some money, we'll promote your product. Until then, Sean will not tell any of our viewers or listeners if it's good or bad.
Crush.
Passion, Kona Crush. Passion fruit, orange, and guava. It's an IPA, so I'm not going to like it.
Kona is a region of the Big Island. It's beautiful. There's lots of volcanic rock. You get off the plane there, and it looks like you're on another planet. It's like black, rocky chunks everywhere, like no grass. And you're like, what the fuck? This is crazy. Also snows there. They have a mountain, snow on the top.
Fantastic.
And it's also pronounced Hawaii.
Yes.
Oh,
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you.
Thank you for chiming in, Marcus.
Hey, Marcus, I see you have glasses on. Is there something important you want to talk about?
Not really. I had to just take off my contacts since I've had them in for like 8 months straight. Get my eyes a rest.
You're always talking about how you're Superman, and now you're floating above Earth, completely dressed as Clark Kent.
Ironic, isn't it?
Don't you think? Fine. Sorry about that, guys. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I love what you did.
I didn't mean to do anything with Alanis Morissette.
Here's the thing, right? I used to not like Alanis Morissette. I used to not like the Cranberries. I didn't even like Rage Against the Machine. But
Really?
in the 90s, there was so much good music. You could pick and choose. Now I'm just like, I hear one of those bands. I'm just like, this is better than anything I've heard in 2 days. This is great.
Yeah.
I'm like, turn up to Alanis.
For sure.
You know.
So Black Lives Matter.
Of course.
So everyone on so people listening to the podcast, we haven't discussed it yet. This is a complicated topic, and it's a topic that even we've discussed it online, and even before the podcast of the last one, but we never really delve into it. So we decided to use this podcast as a start of the conversation, and you'll get different viewpoints from all of us, and hopefully you'll be able to enjoy and understand, and to make make a decision or a thought on the subject matter after this.
All right. I heard Marcus invited you over to his house, and you guys sat down and talked about this for a little while. I heard it from Marcus. That's
We had
trending, actually.
Yeah, we had a very long conversation, and
what
was that?
Like, how was it? Because it's for people listening, both Chaz and Marcus are black, Nick and Sean are white. If you don't know anything about us, Nick and me and Chaz all grew up on the same street. Chaz literally grew up across the street from me. We've known each other. We're in the same neighborhood. Marcus grew up in. It was
Next town over.
Yeah, it's a city, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But it's like it wasn't a great neighborhood. It wasn't like the worst neighborhood, but it wasn't like the best.
Right.
Literally, the Lackawanna Six grew up on the other side, like the next block over from Marcus, if you're familiar with the Lackawanna Six.
Right. Yeah.
So having Chaz and Marcus as a view on this is very interesting to me because Chaz and I we grew up next to each other. Marcus in a bit different neighborhood, different circumstances, different opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Marcus, so the conversation we had the other day, we had opposing views on certain things. So I don't know.
Those are going to be more interesting.
Yeah, they are. Sure. I'm for the Black Lives Matters movement and all of that. And Marcus had a different opinion about it, and we had a discussion about it. And Marcus, would you want to share your opinion or your thoughts?
Yeah. So, in light of what's been going on recently, so in my opinion, as an individual growing up in this country, to me, the Black Lives Matter movement, whatever you want to call it, in my opinion, I feel as if it is mostly used as propaganda, primarily by the media, in order to warrant a response from a certain group of people. For whatever reason, I've yet to kind of I've kind of yet to figure that part out. But I mean, just deep down inside, I'm just one person here, but deep down inside, my opinion, I feel as if it really isn't being utilized for what, basically for what it's, I guess, for what it's supposed to. And I feel like it's just causing all these different feelings and emotions. I feel like when it gets down to it, it's causing more separation than any type of unification, which again, in my opinion, this country should be striving towards. So that was, it's basically the main topic of the discussion Chaz and I had earlier this week. And all you guys are my best friends. I love all you guys. I've known you guys for a very long time. I consider you brothers. But Chaz is probably the closest. Chaz is probably one of the best friends that I have. That just also happens to be Black. So I was just curious as to how he felt, what his opinions were in regards to everything that's going on in the country right now, as as a Black man in this day and age. Regardless of where he grew up, what his background is, where he came from, whatever. Just another Black person living in this country. So yeah,
Can I ask you guys a question? I mean, because we're getting kind of broad angle here. It's like, well, you kind of agree, you kind of disagree. But, I guess the question is just saying like the overall movement. I mean, I think, what I'd like to know from you guys is, and I already know the answer, but for people listening is like, do you think you've ever experienced more racism than say, the average white person has? I mean,
Yes.
or maybe racism isn't even the term I should use, but like,
yes, discrimination.
Discrimination and less benefits than based on your race.
So I will say yes, but that's a tricky part that you said in the end is that is less benefits.
I'm trying to.
No, yeah, I know, but so it's kind of weird. Living in this time of day and age, it's not so blatant. It's not so forthcoming. I remember that growing up, being the only black male kid on the street, and the only black kid for a while in the school. And you know, I would receive racism or discrimination. It wouldn't be a daily thing. It wouldn't be even like a monthly thing. It would be something that I would see or hear every so often. And more, I always said that I was pretty widely accepted. There would be, like I
Excuse me,
said,
I think someone's at my door, guys, which is super weird because no one's come to my door in months. Hold on.
So growing up like that, you gain a different perspective, and you know, I have a few black friends, and my experience is way different than theirs in a lot of cases. And you know, to pinpoint some of the racism, I would have neighbors call me the N-word. I'd be walking randomly down the street from the corner store, and someone would shout it out from the car. I would walk by a house flying the Confederate flag. And I wouldn't be able to date someone's daughter because they didn't accept me, you know, as a person. You know, and even to a certain extent, I think in some cases, some teachers too. But I didn't really get that notion a lot of times. But that's the main type of racism that I dealt with was more acceptance, and kind of like belonging to a community and being accepted fully into that. I could say I am for the most part, but growing up it was definitely difficult. And to say that things are, you know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows now, but I know how to navigate. I know how to talk to people. I know I can access certain situations and I can avoid certain situations. And so that's kind of where things are at now. I'm way more aware of it in front of my face now because of, you know, I guess you could say I learned how to. But yeah, that's kind of what my experience is. And you know, Marcus was basically my first black friend that I have ever met. So it is definitely something that, you know, I don't take lightly at all. So it's one of those things that, like, when he calls me to ask about opinions on stuff, on matters like this, I take it. I mean, he grew up in a rougher neighborhood than I have. And, you know, I take it as a kind of a responsibility of mine to kind of beckon the call if he, you know, asks me something like that.
Sure, man.
Now, just throwing this out there, Chaz. And I know you're married, so you don't have to answer this.
Where is this going?
And I know it's shitty that parents wouldn't let you date their daughters.
Oh, okay.
Did that make the girls want you even more? And did you hook up with a lot more, like, girl? No, just not saying, like, did you get a little bit more play because girls, like, thought they're did it help your game? Did it help your game?
No. I will say that so I was an awkward kid growing up, just in general. So just out of, like, if if I wasn't getting play, race was not the only thing that was affecting that. But I literally heard out of someone's mouth that they will not date me because of their father. So that was something that came out of his mouth.
That really sucks, because I gotta tell you, that's not something I worried about, right? I didn't really worry about anyone being like, your race means you can't date my kid. I worried about, I mean, every teenage boy worries about the dad, right? Like, and the dad worries about every teenage boy. There's this invisible wall there, right? But I was never told it was because of my race. You know what I mean? I was never not allowed to date a girl, but I always had to prove myself in a way. You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's a perfect example of privilege, I guess.
Yeah.
But also, I guess I can't even, like, there weren't, like you said, it was a mostly white neighborhood. There wasn't a black girl I was trying to date. So I might have encountered that, but I don't know that I would have, actually. Because if it was a primarily white neighborhood, the parents would probably be like, well, there's only like one black boy in school and she's not interested in him. So
arranged
let's
marriage.
see if give this kid a chance, you know? That might be what I was up. That might have been the situation. I wish I had a perfect example for you, but I don't.
Yeah.
I think fathers don't like anybody.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like they know exactly what you're there for. They know exactly what you're willing to do to them.
I mean, we've got a guy with a teenage daughter right here on the podcast. What does he think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely. I mean, that's just one part of being a father to, that's the main thing about having a daughter is, at some point, she's going to get, she's going to start dating and get involved with, boys and, all that shit that comes along with it. So, I mean, yeah, obviously, you want the best for her, and you don't want, you don't want any type of bullshit happening. So, I mean, it definitely matters to have an opinion and, let that opinion be known, of course, obviously.
Have you told your daughter she can't date certain people?
No.
Is it because just force her to go towards them usually a little bit faster?
What?
I really think you're really reaching, Sean.
What did he say?
It's the thing, like if someone tells you can't do something, you do it, especially when you're a teenager.
Oh yeah, I mean,
sometimes.
So going off.
If I was a father, it's like, oh, you're interested in that guy, and I know he's a bum, and he's not going to be nothing more than a bum. It's like, that seems nice,
Yeah, reverse psychology.
Right, but I think
I don't know.
I think the problem is here is people thinking negatively about someone because of their race. Like you said, the guy's a bum. You didn't mention the race, but if someone thinks someone is less than because of their race, I think is the problem.
Right. So this brings up a good point, and it made me wonder why. A lot of times, like why is that? Am I not attractive? Am I not? Obviously I knew I was awkward, but I did try to be as cool as I can. But I wasn't like a flat out like nerd in like high school. I definitely was a lot better. Middle school and everything like that, I was just I'll call that like a wash. But
yeah, like, by high school you understand like style of clothing and things like that. You know what I mean? But yeah.
But he didn't understand how to do laundry and not to put bleach in.
Yeah.
What year was that? That was pretty young.
I'm pretty sure that was 7th or 8th grade.
It was before high school, I remember.
Was it before high school? Because I remember you just like showing up with like everything stained. And we're like, what happened? You're like, I put bleach in with my stuff. I thought you were supposed to. It's like, why are you still wearing it?
It was literally
because I bleached all my clothes.
It was literally my whole wardrobe.
Right.
You accidentally started probably a trend that happened a couple years later.
It was. I was dressing before. I was ahead of the times, man, because I wore sweatpants 24/7, and they're and the bleached clothes is a style now. So fuck you guys.
yeah, that's right. That's funny.
Look, you can't be a trendsetter. You can't change things by going with the flow and doing what everybody else is doing. So you inspired us, this generation of clothing.
What exactly did you and Marcus disagree on?
So Marcus said that the media is basically dividing us, and that it's fueling a lot of a lot of the negative that is going on with the Black Lives Movement, Matters movement. And I disagreed with that to a certain extent. I know that the media is in it for the ratings for the most part, and they obviously will capture a lot more violence, a lot more things like that. But as far as the unification, this has been the biggest civil rights movement in history, in fucking history, and it's.
And statistically, you're right. You're right. Like we learned about the '60s in our school books, but it didn't go to all these countries, all these states.
No, all 50 states. You got Germany, you got France, you got the UK, you got Tokyo.
I believe it's just England.
England, was it just England?
I think it's
I
just.
know it was London. I know London was in there. So
I don't think Wales, Scotland, or Northern Ireland have joined.
Right, but but in general, it's basically all the United States plus other countries, and the support that I've received from friends about this, out of the blue, to be honest, just out of the blue, has been phenomenal. And yesterday, I spoke in front of 60 of my coworkers, all the way from like my managers, and all the way down to like somebody that in my level, discussing certain situations like, I'm discussing right now. And it was very well received. One of the managers was like bawling his eyes out. It was just crazy. And I never thought this would ever happen at all. And, to say that we're dividing is, I think, is short-sighted, because it's just you're not looking at the positivity that's happening right now. And yes, nothing's ever clean. Change is sometimes chaotic in some cases, but the positivity that's happening with this is amazing to me, and I'm still blown away by it every day.
But what's scary to me about this is if you have a conservative voice. I'm not a conservative, but I like hearing conservative ideas.
Yeah.
Just so I don't like the idea of being trapped in a bubble of the exact same voices, the exact same thing. It's like, well, it has to be this, which I was really roughly through the entire George W. Bush campaign. And then during Barack Obama, I stopped paying attention to politics. And with Trump, it's like, I'm sorry, what? Who's that president? I'm out of the game. I gotta get back into this. What the fuck's going on?
I think politics, it's I'd rather not pay as much attention to it, to be honest, but it's become so kind of crazy that
you
we
really
have to.
Because it's one of those, like, I'm definitely my stance with it was like, I don't care about politics. I can't deal with it. It's all it's dividing. If I had to say in the past, I was probably more liberal with a lot of my thoughts, and right now I'm definitely moderate for sure, in the middle. If I had to pick a side, I'd probably be a moderate Republican in a sense. But the problem is in general is that everyone wants to be extreme, and it's one of those things that they're always seeking, like, they might have a thought in their head of like what they think might be right, and then you'll have like some of the extreme opinions of like the left or right come along and say it because they're famous, they make more money, and they're on TV, and that almost and in your head that justifies what you're thinking, and so you back them by watching them, buying their merchandise, buying paying attention to the advertisement that's on it, and that creates a cycle and a divide because of these opinion pieces that are just so extreme and just so crazy sometimes that it's like, I have conservative friends that like are 100% for Trump, and they are they're definitely gun ho for it, and I listen to what they're saying. I learned a long time that if you stop and listen to what they're saying, you will have an opinion based on both facts. And I understand where they're coming from. They're not racist. They understand what they're looking for. Obviously, they're in it for their own benefit for the most part. But and they literally ignore all the other stuff that is going on. Like literally, like ignore it.
I think there's people on both sides of the spectrum.
Exactly. No, and that's the same on the other side. Like people for Hillary were the exact same.
Right, but not all of them, and the same with not everyone for Trump either. Some people just prefer one over the other.
Exactly, and that's kind of like where I even nowadays in this age, I realize I have to pay more attention to this because it affects me. Yeah. And I have to, base my opinion on both sides because I can't make a sound decision about, who I want to vote for. And
speaking of that, Chaz, if you don't mind me butting in.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is your opinion on the two main candidates as of now?
This is something I don't really want to talk about.
So
it got brought up. I'm always interested in it. Just
no, sure, absolutely.
Just the difference between the two.
For a quick jab, I think Trump is way out of his league, and he doesn't know what he's doing. He's like the senile grandfather. He'll say whatever is on his mind and doesn't care. As far as Joe Biden, I don't know. I'm not entirely under Joe Biden that this guy is it, but I always kind of put it as like the lesser of two evils type of thing. But
when you say lesser of two evils, I try and break presidential candidates down to, if I made a list of like 10 things that I truly want the president to try and focus on, who hits the most marks?
Yes, sure.
Especially like if you hit my number one, I'm anti-war. You hit that, you're going to be higher than anyone that's not. And hopefully all the other ones pander out. What is like your number one or issue that you want a president to be for or against and to help out?
That's a very good question.
That's for everyone. Like I said, I'm anti-war. During the DNC candidates, Tulsi Gabbard, 100%. I thought she was going to win it. I think she can win it all, hands down. But that's why I hate the. Never mind. Don't worry about the media. But yeah.
So, Sean, also, it's pretty broad, right? Like some of the media agrees with you completely, some disagrees with you.
No, 0% of the media agrees with me because they called her a Russian. They called her a Russian asset.
Who did?
MSNBC, CNN. She was on The View. So that's ABC. So
let's get this straight. Pundits on these networks called her a Russian accent. Factually, they didn't have evidence and report a news story that she was a Russian
Hillary
accent.
Clinton called her a Russian asset.
Okay, that's a person. The problem is
no. Hillary Clinton called her a Russian asset. Everyone ran with it. All right. So they ran with
news,
it.
Man.
No, that's not news. So hold on, stop. Hillary Clinton came out maybe 2 weeks later and said, because she called Jill Stein a Russian asset also. She said, I meant Republican. She said, I meant Republican.
And they broadcast that too, right?
No. They continued to call her a Russian asset until she backed out of the presidential race and supported Biden.
Okay, so here's the thing. When someone running for news, you have footage of her saying something that's controversial, they put it on the news because it's new. Now, the problem is you see their bias, not that they lied. Like, people are like, they're straight up lying to us all the time. And it's like, no, Hillary Clinton really did call her a Russian asset. That's true.
Oh, no. She wasn't. That was the lie because Hillary Clinton said it, and then they said she was.
I need more information on this.
I've been posting about this girl. I've been posting about this fucking girl for a year. I bought stuff from her. I have a T-shirt that has her name on it. She's amazing.
Okay. I haven't
Sorry.
seen your post
What
about
happened?
it. So,
Sound cut
and I
out.
follow everything
Why
you
am I
say, and
sound-
I haven't
Why
even
am I
seen
the
your
only
post
still
about it
moving?
because Chaz has already. They've already censored Chaz.
I doubt that. There we go.
No. But like,
Do you have a
are we
different
there?
shirt on?
You guys back?
Yeah.
Hear you.
so like I said, real news has to report fact, but they don't have to report all the facts, and that's where you see their bias.
Right.
But there's not
The
this.
fact is, Hillary Clinton said something.
Yes.
What she said doesn't have to be factual at all.
Not necessarily. Not.
No. That's
Not if they put in quotes Hillary Clinton said, then no, because the fact is Hillary Clinton said it.
I know. But the thing is after she said I meant Republican, not Russian, they didn't go with that. Like literally, actually, that helped Tulsi stay in the race longer than she was.
Okay, I mean,
But all right, so let's get back to the original question. I feel like you guys are dodging me here. All right,
uh,
what's your number one thing that you want the President of the United States to help you with?
I think before all this, I think it was probably legalization of weed,
really?
decriminalizing it.
But you don't. That makes sense because I'm like, you don't even smoke, but decriminalizing makes sense because there are people. So my dad was a politician appointed by the Democratic Party when I was a kid. He has since changed and is pro. I don't know what, but
He's a Republican. I remember talking with him.
He's now a registered Republican, yeah, but he for certain reasons he likes owning his guns, and he's afraid that certain people might take away his guns. Like that seems to be his number one issue. But there are other things he agrees with the Democratic Party on, and so that's part of this problem of everyone being like, you're either with us or against us. And I think that's a problem in everything.
Yeah.
Right? You're with us or against us. It shouldn't be. I used to vote I would look up every single candidate. I'm trying to think of what they're called. It was a women's voting group used to post like all the candidates with like links to their platforms. And I would go there, and the League of Women Voters, they're called. I would go there and I'd read what each person was for and against. And I would vote for the person. And at the end of my ballot, it would be pretty much half Republican and half Democrat. I would then, because most of the Republicans and Democrats were also supported by third parties, if I also liked the third party that they were also supported by, I would vote under that line instead of under the Democrat or Republican line. In recent years, almost everyone on each party decided we're all on this together or not, and we're all on this together or not, and it's become like, I don't even have a choice. Like, this guy's 100% this guy's 100% this, and there's no gray area that I get to have fun in.
At least not with what the United States has kind of set up over time, is that they're two-party system.
I've noticed I've only been voting 20 years now, and I've already noticed a huge shift in this, and I don't like it. I'd rather if I like this candidate, I'm going to vote. I used to vote for people based on their views and what they were trying to accomplish in their office. People
on Facebook they're posting, if you don't vote for this, delete me now. If you don't vote for this person, delete me now.
Here's the problem.
And it's like, are you kidding me? It's like, what does that have to do? All I think about every fucking election is the Simpsons episode when it's like, what are you going to do? Vote for a third party? Ha, ha, ha. It's like, we have to do, they're right. We're never going to vote for anyone else.
Here's the thing.
And we got literally the two worst candidates ever. I thought Hillary was bad. I just don't like her. Overall, she's a very smart woman. A person. She's a human. Sure. She's really fucking smart. She's really cool in like what she's done with her life. But I just didn't like her politics.
Yeah.
I forgot where I was going.
Marcus, you got a point? You got an opinion on any of this stuff?
On what? What part?
The question was Marcus,
what? All over the board.
when you're looking at a candidate for the president, what is your number one thing that you want the president to do for you?
So, me personally, I always felt as if, well, until recently, I've always felt as if, I basically kept myself out of politics. For the most part, I really don't care. In my opinion, I feel like, that's basically all it is. It's just all, like it's all opinionated. It's basically one side against the other. Basically, I guess you just pick the one that you feel most about or is closer to you in some sense or another. Me personally, I've pretty much stayed out of it the majority of my life. I did vote for, well, the first and only time I ever voted in my entire life was for Obama the first time. And I mean, that's really about it. I mean, so just recently, so in regards to what's been going on, in regards to the the upcoming debates, again, I really didn't have too much of opinion. Pretty much stayed out of it. Just didn't really care. But one thing about Trump, other than the fucking obvious, is that he is trying to fuck with the postal service, which
He's trying to get your job taken away.
Yeah, for like the past 3 years, that's been my job, and what ultimately is hopefully should be my career for the rest of my life. So I mean,
Yeah.
so I guess now is the first time in my entire life I ever feel like, I felt like someone is affecting me directly, because obviously I'm a mail carrier. I have no interest in doing anything else at this point. So this is basically what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And I mean, so if I got to go off for anything, I'm obviously going to go off for that. He's trying to fuck with unions and like all this other related matter. And I do agree with because of my opinion, I do agree with what Chaz had mentioned before, just a little while ago, about basically picking between the lesser evils. So I mean, it's like I don't know. So a couple of days ago, I'm just sitting around. I go on YouTube or whatever. I'm just flipping around, looking around. I took the liberty of rewatching that Hodgson's video that I retweeted on Twitter about a week ago, and from there I kind of fell into a little bit of a rabbit hole, which obviously happens on YouTube, of course, mostly in regards to the discussions that Black conservatives had with black liberals. So I mean, I watched a couple of videos regarding that, and one thing that the one guy did mention in the one video was basically in his opinion, if you want to get descriptive about it, I guess, in his opinion, he felt as if the Democratic Party and the Republican Party really as a whole doesn't benefit the Black community really in one way or another, and it's just a matter of just picking one of the two lesser evils. Basically, both of them fucking suck. But as a Black person, part of the Black community, like if I'm, obviously if I'm getting that descriptive, it's basically a matter of picking which one is gonna affect you less, or fuck you over less.
The one that's gonna use lube or not?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
I mean, all right. So
I get that.
That's a good analogy. Police brutality and the excessive amount of force that that are being used on the public. And the to what Marcus was saying before is that the media is creating this divide for showing pictures of and video of police getting stuff thrown at them and whatnot, and then it shows the other part where it has the protesters getting
Gassed.
tased and
Shot.
gassed,
With
shot,
rubber bullets in the
all
face.
that stuff. And being someone that is kind of on both sides in a sense, because it was to me it seemed very, very stupid if you think that if you can't think for yourself and understand that that's not what this is about. And the looting and rioting, yes, cops have to be out. Obviously, it makes a whole lot of sense, and they have to stop it as much as they possibly can. But that shouldn't stop the peaceful protests from going on. And that's technically, if you look for it, obviously you will see peaceful protesting going on. You will see looting going on too.
Well, after the first couple looting, you see a lot of peaceful protesters stopping people.
Exactly.
I think there was a thing in D.C. where they stopped the guy, grabbed him, and fucking brought him up to the police. And were like, "Hey, this guy's starting fucking trouble. We're just trying to be here peacefully."
Sure, the guy breaking up bricks.
Yeah.
A bunch of protesters grabbed him and threw him to police, and they should, right?
Oh,
this guy's trying to get bricks to throw, maybe at the police.
I'm loving the self-policing that
exactly.
They I mean, obviously the first couple of nights it got wild because there were agitators, and then after that people were like, no, you're going to get us all killed.
Exactly.
And what we're marching for is something that's actually needs, well, one, should have been already addressed, but
right.
Two, needs obviously still needs to be addressed.
Right. And I think that this is what's happening. That's not always going to be a clean change, and obviously things are happening now. I have a lot of police officers that are a lot of friends that are police officers, and and I served with them in the United States Army as a military police officer, and and I understand the riot stuff and I understand all that stuff going on, but being a Black American, you have to have a certain perspective to understand that something's not right, and that I shouldn't feel nervous driving into into the suburbs and worrying that I'm going to get pulled over, or
because of your skin color.
Right, and worrying that if I don't play this role right, it could be very bad. And they I've been pulled over twice because of my skin color in West Seneca, in the town that I live.
Right, and you probably grew up and went to school with some of the cops now that go there, that work there.
Yeah, exactly, I do.
Yeah. But hey, why'd you pull me over? We were friends.
Actually,
I'm sorry.
They weren't cops then, but I was. But it was literally like I was just driving home. Granted, it's late at night, but I was driving home and I was and I was fine. And if I couldn't even tell you what it was. It was me and Marcus Johnson, and we were driving home. We were coming from Denny's.
Ridge?
No, it was the one on
Chihuahua?
Yeah. So we were coming home. He actually had like a Moons Over Miami. I remembered it that much.
Very important detail.
He had it. He brought it with him, and back home, and it was like it had to be like 1 or 2 in the morning or something like that. And I had my Oldsmobile, the one that had psoriasis on it, the black one. So, you know, look, I mean, we were driving into West Seneca, and you know, we were, you know, two black guys late at night driving in a piece of shit car, driving into the suburbs. We weren't doing anything. I was driving perfectly and all that. There wasn't a soul on the road but me and the cop. We stop at the light on Center, and I'm driving, and I look in my rearview mirror and I see a U-turn. And the cop, and so we pull over. They flash their lights. We pull over, and you know, they say, "Where you going? Where you coming from?" All those things, and they're have their hands on their pistol, you know, and they're like, it's like they're obviously it's protocol that they don't know what's happening, but that's something that they do. So they're ready to go, and you know, Marcus had his food. He sets it down. I say, "What was that?" I was like, it's just my food. And the cop on the other side saw that and says, "Yes, it's just the food." So it could have. The problem is that I obviously I'm here today, so nothing went wrong. I didn't get a ticket. I didn't get
nothing went wrong, but yeah.
But it could have escalated a lot.
Right. All you need is even I won't even go. You say racist cop. I'll go even. You just have a cop having a bad day that wants to fuck with you. Oh no, no, it's racial profiling. That's kind of what happened to me. It's absolutely racial profiling. And you know, you get pulled over. It could have went badly if, you know, after the racial like they pull you over if you like if the cop was having a bad day, he could have fucked with you, and he knows he can fuck with you because there was no like cameras at that time. There was no. I don't even know if they have them now yet. But like, there's nothing. They could do whatever they want to you. They could fuck with you all they want. It just sounded like at least one of the cops was like, "All right, they're
kids." And I say, you know, let these guys go, you know, whatever. So it's
but not everyone has that. Not everyone has that luxury of the cop being not a piece of shit, like 100%. Exactly. Not everyone's 100% asshole.
Right. No. And you know that right there is what's happening is that
now as
too many times
I'm sorry,
those situations flip and that they don't end up going home because of some frivolous, some stupid something.
Oh yeah, you know, absolutely.
And that's what's going on, and it seems to happen more because of my skin color than it does with
your driving.
With my driving or anything else. They didn't have to pull me over. You know, that's really what it was. There was nothing. There was no laws broken.
Just out of curiosity, you brought up that you were an MP and you were actually deployed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with your being a military police and all your knowledge and your mindset, have you ever put yourself in the shoes of the cops that pulled you over?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And with all that,
I'm not gonna lie. As racially as it sounds, we look suspect as hell. And we were, you know.
Whoa. Why though? Hold on. Why did you look suspect?
Because of racial, like if so you have.
There you go.
So yeah. So look. So you have two. You're basically it's white suburbia, and you have two black people driving in a piece of shit car that. At 2:00 in the morning.
No. For those listening and those watching, to give you an idea, Chaz and Marcus were two of the 3 black people that went to our high school. Of what, 1,000?
Yeah, there's a lot
Roughly,
of kids.
Maybe a little over. Because there were 300 in our class.
For almost all 4 years of me and Nick going there, they were the only. There was 3
there were
of them.
a couple other kids. There was
more
people
started coming in, but literally.
But it was like 10 max. It was like 10 max.
Very easily.
A couple people came here, but it was Richie Woods, Chaz, Marcus. They were.
Yeah. No, there were others, but still.
Yeah. To give an idea.
Less than 1%.
So it's a very white place.
0.03% They
Yeah,
were
so
of the high school population, not just
Right.
the population.
so yeah, like I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, so these people, like, I'm gonna pull them over. It's like either they're doing like some sort of drug deal, or they're going to or like I need to find out like what's going on before so I can get ahead of it, right? So it's one of those things that like I know why they did it, but should have they done it? And that's kind of one of the things that needs to be reevaluated, because there are laws in place that stop that allow the cop to do something like that,
Sure.
and allow them to get away if they actually escalate it too much.
So
And that's kind of where all of this is heading, is that, you know, I don't want to get pulled over anymore because of my skin color, and because I'm, you know, following the law. I'm not causing any issues.
Now, I mean, as a
Yeah,
kid, it's like, oh man, I got pulled over. It's kind of like a badge of honor. Like, dude, I got pulled over. It's kind of like nice. As an adult who served the country, who has a house, you know, like a good income, you have a great career, you and your wife, like, yeah, no, you should be above being pulled over because of your skin color. Because you're like, no, but yeah,
I'm going to take it further. I'm going to say that there shouldn't even be a thought, Chaz. I don't even like that you just said to us that we looked suspicious because we were two black guys driving in a white neighborhood.
right.
There shouldn't be a white neighborhood. There shouldn't be a black neighborhood.
So
well,
with
that's
point,
one. That's not yes and no. You know what I'm saying? It is.
No.
No. But it is. So you got to play within the rule, like the game you're playing. There is a black and white neighborhood. There is now.
Yeah.
If Chaz and Marcus showed up in maybe a better looking car, would they have been pulled over?
Yes.
Of course they would have,
Probably. I would
because
say
it looked like they had fucking money. The fact that they looked like two teenagers in a shitty car, should have been easy to be like, they could have easily, obviously they could have easily just followed you and saw like what happened.
Where I was going.
Let me tell you.
But on the other hand, like Chaz said, in his experience, they look a little shady. Would you have pulled you guys over in your point of life now and done the same thing? Like, oh, these are some kids. They're not here to fuck.
My point of life now, probably
yes.
not. No.
So here's the thing,
Like,
Sean. You're saying suspicious kids now.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that very well-known rich black men in fucking expensive cars have been pulled over, and actually police have been trained to pull over black men driving expensive cars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because,
and that's
also,
racist.
Here's where it's at. So here's where it's at, and this is kind of where Marcus and I were. I discussed this with Marcus. Is that
his disagreement or disagreement?
It was kind of it was me explaining why I disagreed with him.
Okay.
And so you know, growing up, I didn't like watching TV, and I watched a lot of cartoons, and all that stuff. I didn't see anybody that looked like me in a good light. I never, like, on the news, even in TV shows, all that stuff. They were usually, if they were black, they were, a drug dealer or, a gangster.
Or they died in the horror movie.
What kind of cartoons did you watch, man? No, I'm just kidding.
Best times. We watched him with.
No, it was a joke about him saying they were drug. It's a joke. It's a joke.
They don't.
I love it.
So through the 80s and 90s, obviously, we weren't. Black people aren't shown that stuff. And growing up in white suburbia, you definitely aren't taught, like as much as black history as you are about, just white history. Sure. And so, like, you learn that slavery is bad. That's pretty much it. So, but your depiction of how we are as a culture and people are exactly from the TV and from what the news is. So when you have that image in your head, and you're automatically thinking like, black guy, suspicious, he's going to do something, or he's looking to do something. Me walking around in a store, should I be followed? Stuff like that. And that's where a lot of this starts stemming from, is that it's just, you can't, like, you know, we look suspect as hell because you've been taught to see us as suspects, and that's kind of and that's the other issue. That's where Black Lives Matter. That's the other part of Black Lives Matter, is that nowadays it's a lot better because there are Black leads, there are Black movies, there are Black superheroes, there are multicultural types of shows, and it's fantastic. But sometimes it falls on deaf ears, and people don't want to learn it. And this is where the Black Lives Matter movement comes into play, where we're asking you to like listen, to teach, to pay attention, understand Black culture, understand that, you know, the first self-made woman millionaire was Black, you know, that she lived next to Rockefeller, and that there was the reason of like such an ingrained type of racism, that the Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, was a massacre by white supremacists, and they killed over 300 Black Americans. So it's stuff like that that people don't understand or even know about. And basically, you know, nowadays they say it's not that bad. You guys, it's racism isn't real anymore. But that stuff's so ingrained. I mean, generational wealth, I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, it's crazy the amount of knowledge or amount of information that the rest of America doesn't know about the Black American.